Welcome back to Light Talk, where the paranormal and the supernatural experiences are a part of our daily lives. If you have a story you would like to share, email me at lighttalk423@gmail.com. And while you're at it, click on the like, share, and subscribe buttons. And just kind of remind you guys all that the expo that's happening in Loveland on June 14th and 15th. I will be there doing my first show, reading cards and photos. So I'm asking to see all of you there. So if you can make it, I hope to see you. So let's get started on today's show. I'm so excited for this guest. She's going to be amazing. I know she is. And so let's get started. Go ahead and tell us about yourself and introduce yourself.
So hello everyone, and thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm really excited. My name is Summer. I am the creator and owner of Just Be True. And Just Be True is basically services to help people through their spiritual awakening and transformation process. Yeah, so that's us. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm I don't know like where to start. You know, I do love the paranormal side of life and the experiences that come with it. It's just so amazing. And one of the things I really enjoy doing, um, like I have clients and I have friends who bought new homes or were thinking about buying homes, and I've been able to walk through those homes with like my dowsing rods and identify the energies that are kind of sitting with the house. Right. I mean, it's very interesting. Like a really good friend of mine, she got a new house and I was like, don't tell me anything about it. Let me just walk through and see what I pick up. And so the first time I walked through, I just walked through, just to see what I could feel myself. And then the second time I walked through my dowsing rods to see if the energy that I felt the first time would do anything with my dowsing rods.
Right.
And it was very interesting. There's one corner, like at our kitchen, kind of like our kitchen, dining room, living room area where it all kind of meets. And I was like, when I stand here, and my red dowsing rods were going like crazy. They were just spinning all kind of different ways. And I
Okay.
was like, I feel kind of confused standing here. And she was like, oh, well, this room used to be split up into three different rooms, and now it's one whole room. And I'm like, well, that makes sense.
That makes
Right?
sense.
Like,
Yep.
yes, it made complete sense. And so
Uh-huh.
I told her, so intuitively I got some things that she could do. So now when you go into the house, you don't feel confused standing in that spot anymore, right? It feels warm and welcoming. But really interesting, the part that I love is that I told her, like, I feel like the house, when you bought it, it was in probate. Like, I don't feel that it had an actual owner. Like, I feel that the owners had already passed and this house was like in probate or sitting with the state for you to get it. And she's like, well, I don't know anything about, my husband bought it and they remodeled it and this is all I know. So I actually did some research. And a matter of fact, the people who lived there before had passed away. And it was actually in probate. It didn't actually make it, they didn't have a will. And so it did not actually get handed over to the family members because there were several of them, right? So they had several children, but it all just ended up being in probate and they decided to go ahead and to sell it. So that was kind of cool, right?
Yeah, that
That
is
was
really
very,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, Other paranormal stuff, I love Savannah, Georgia. And Savannah, Georgia is so known for the spirits that still reside there and live there and kind of, still kind of reach out to people, right? And
Mhm.
like to
Right.
show, that they're still around. And I went to there was this haunted house tour, and it's been on like several of the different shows, right? Even in
Mhm.
the TV shows, so they've been on several of those. And the downstairs, I was like really new into my intuition. So I was trying to see like, well, can I pick up anything? Pick up anything? And downstairs it was just quiet and normal, not really, it was like, okay, well. But upstairs is where everything changed. So, you know, way back when, like probably before our grandparents' age, way back when they had women's parlors and they had the men's parlors, in the older homes. And the first one we walked into was the men's parlor. And it was just, and I was like, the whole time I was in there, I just wanted to have a cigar and a whiskey. And I don't know, right? And I just had this overwhelming feeling like I just need a cigar and some whiskey and sit back and just relax and just enjoy, right?
Right, right.
Yeah. And so that's what I felt like in there. But then right across from there, literally it was doors, socket doors, like the wall socket doors that open and close that separated them. So they opened up the doors and walking over the threshold was the women's parlor. And so they left the doors open. And I walked into the women's parlor and I felt like I was being screamed and yelled at. Like just, yes, like just a lot of
Uh,
fighting and arguing. I'm like, I just stepped back over to the men's parlor and I stayed in that energy.
I'll just have my cigar and my drink.
Drink, so I don't have to be yelled at and fussed at. Yeah.
Right. Oh,
Yeah. And it was just amazing to me how just one little threshold could change that, right? Just one step could change how that felt. Yeah. So that was really, I mean, that was a really interesting experience.
did you
And
find
so
out what happened? Sorry. Did you find out what happened with why it was such a angry area?
we really didn't, but I could just imagine like if women were there, right? Like, I mean, if they were there and they were just fussing about, I don't know, maybe that's just what they did in there. They just fussed and complained and I don't know, right? But the men didn't do that so much, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never asked. Um, you know, I'm not the best at asking. I'm
What
not
was
the best
that?
at asking.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Uh,
I'll get better at it, I promise. So if I go back, I'll be like, well, why do I feel this way? And see if they actually have any history on what may have happened there, right?
yeah. Yeah. It's all good.
Yeah,
It's all good. Part of the
yeah.
journey. Huh?
Part of the journey, yes. Um, but still, like, so that tour's not finished. So that tour, we went out of the house and we went down to the basement area, which you had to go outside and get to. And so there's several, it's a tour, so there's several of us there. And um, I don't like being in the front of the room. I always stand in the back of the classroom. I don't like being in the front.
That's me too.
And so we were all standing, yeah. And so we were standing there and the lady was telling us stuff and I felt this poke on my shoulder. And I turned around and looked to see if my husband was standing behind me, and he wasn't on this side, but he was on the other side, but he was too far away to have been able to reach around and poke me, right?
Right.
I'm like, okay, all right, and so listened to the lady for a little bit longer, and then I felt it again. And so I turned around the other way to see, well, what's going on? I'm looking all behind me and I'm like, there's nobody there. What in the world is this? So I'm like, oh, it'll just go away. And then it happened a third time. And the third time, the poke was there and I felt a burn with it, right?
Ooh.
There's like
Ooh.
a burn or red thing. I'm like, I'm done. I just walked all the way back and there was a wall and I just walked all the way back and just leaned against the wall. So I'm like, well, at least they can't poke me from here,
No more touching me.
right? Right. So everybody's like, so the lady starts talking and so everybody's going around taking pictures and trying to get orbs or whatever's going on. And the lady
Right.
comes up to me and she's like, are you okay? And I was like, well, something kept poking me in my shoulder. And she's like, you have a ponytail. And I'm like, what? She goes, yeah, the guy likes to mess with girls that have ponytails. like apparently he's known for that. They should have warned me.
Could have let it out, or
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, I would have worn
crazy.
my head.
Right, right. Different hairstyle that day.
Yeah, would have worn it down and not up. Yeah.
Right. Oh boy. Oh, so he never did pull your ponytail or anything. He just kind
He
of,
never pulled my toe, just poked, like just a poke and just a poke on the shoulder. Yeah. Never pulled my ponytail. But I'm gonna tell you, like, I always feel a sensation up at the top of my head anyway. And like when it starts tingling or like it feels like it's getting really heavy, um, I usually just try to be still and see what's going on, like see if I can feel something going on. That's usually my intuition kicking off, you know. And when spirit's trying to communicate with me. So if he even did, I don't even know if I would have paid any attention to it because my head's always kind of messed with, right?
yeah, some of us have those kinds of things, but no, it's, I haven't had too much of that, but I do once in a while get like the vibrational, I guess, that kind of goes more in the third eye, that kind of
Yeah.
does the tingly kind of feel right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can happen, right? People who really has a very active third eye, yes, or you could feel really warm,
Mhm.
right? In regards to my third eye, I think it goes more in behind my ear. So it kind of comes more into here is where I kind of get those sensations versus up front. And I wonder, I kind of wonder, it'd be nice to do like a study, but I wonder if the people that get it more across the front, if they're just more visual in their communications, right? Or in their imaginations.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if I think it's kind of the way it comes through, if it's coming through like with the
Hmm.
visual or what. With back behind the ears, that makes me want to think of the throat chakra, that's opened up or what. So because that works with the ear.
Hmm.
So
So,
that would kind of open
yeah,
that
I
up.
kind of connect it to that pineal gland that's in the brain that sits behind the ear a little. So it sits a little up and behind the ear. Pineal gland, is that?
That's I
I'm not
want
very good with body parts.
no, you're fine. You're fine. I want to say that isn't that like the claircognizance?
Yeah.
That
Hmm.
what it is? Isn't it more back because the
Yeah.
um third eye is more up towards the temples?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're very annoying. Not annoying, but knowing.
I knowing, yeah, I get it. I get it. It's interesting. It's interesting, right?
You're right.
To be that. I can tell you like some really crazy stories before I realized what my gift was. Literally I just like used to argue with myself all the time. And one very specific event took place in 2002. It was a couple weeks. It was in December of 2002. Um, I was living in an apartment complex and I was dating someone at the time. And I guess it was probably around like 11 p.m. And I pull up my apartment complex and I'm sitting in my car. And in my head, the thought comes through, you need to go back to where you came from. Like, I can't go back to where I came from. I was like, it was the person I was dating. He was at home with his kids. I'm like, I can't just go back there. It's too late and, I need to, just get inside. No, you can't go in. And I'm like, why can't I go in? This makes no sense. Why am I telling myself I can't do these things? Literally,
Right,
I sat
right.
there probably for about 5 minutes in an argument with myself. Finally, finally I made an agreement with myself, right? It really wasn't myself. It was like my higher,
Right.
guides or whatever talking to me. But finally, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go in, but I'm only gonna take what I need. So, and I had a blue jean jacket, so I'm like, I'm gonna put my wallet inside of my jacket pocket. I'm gonna put my keys and all my key rings on my fingers, and I'll keep my phone in my front pocket, and I'll carry my loaf of bread because I need my bread in the morning. I have that loaf of bread. And so I get out of the car and I walk to my apartment, and there was somebody standing outside of my apartment with a gun. And so anyway, we ended up in a physical altercation, and the guy ended up running off. Um,
Wow.
but it's just like if I'd only listened or didn't argue with myself, right? It wouldn't have ever happened. But
Wow.
then at least it prepared me enough. So when I was there, at least I had myself kind of somewhat together. So he couldn't try to get my keys off of my fingers, but he couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't know where
Yeah.
my wallet was. So he took my cell phone, but I mean, that's replaceable. But yeah, it was just like, if I'd only listened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had I had an argument with myself like that one time, but they says, nope, you're not doing this anymore. You're not listening. So they took over.
Nice.
They took over my steering wheel and before I knew it, the car was moving and it was like, okay, I guess I'm getting gas. Like I really don't need it, but I'm getting some.
Getting
But
gas.
it did save me though, because there was an accident that happened on my way to work that morning. And yeah, pretty
Wow.
crazy.
Isn't that amazing how that all
Yeah,
works? Yes. I'm gonna tell you, yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many times, like, I remember just arguing with myself and just thinking, I'm just arguing with myself in a complete circle and it's not doing any good. And, but then when, that's funny, right? But
it's
yes, but
funny.
it
It's
is.
funny
I
though.
mean,
Yeah,
it is, yes. And I'm glad that I can, look back at such a situation in which it was and laugh about it today, right?
that's
Um,
good.
but yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, it happened. I mean, until somebody told me, and it was really interesting because my friend kept on telling me, "Oh, you need to go see a medium." And I'm like, "Well, what's a medium, man?" Like, I was in my, I was in my mid late 30s. And I'm like, "Well, what's a medium?" I don't, so they had to explain it to me, and I'm like, "Okay." And so I went, and because I thought I was like losing my mind. Because I was hearing so much stuff, and I'm just,
Mhm.
and this was back when like Beautiful Mind was, it wasn't in theaters, but it was on TV playing a lot, and I like just watched it recently, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to be institutionalized. They're gonna put me away. I'm crazy. And I go to this medium here in Atlanta, and she's like, "Oh, well, you can hear spirit, and this is why you can hear them." And all of a sudden, it was like a light bulb just flipped on, and everything from that moment, from the time I can remember, made absolute sense. Like me, all the times I
Yeah.
argued with myself or talked to
Mhm.
people that weren't there, right?
But you
And
thought
that
we're
had
there.
that I thought were there. Well, I didn't think that. I mean, like they were there, but I didn't. I couldn't see
Huh.
them, so I was just talking to. I felt nothing, but I was carrying on a conversation.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds weird to say it like that, but it happened all the time. Like I'd be going through my house and I would be explaining how things work. I'm like, I feel like I'm talking to a kid in my house, but I have no children in my home. That was like,
And that's what this is all about, is to explain those different types of situations that somebody else might be going through, that
Yeah.
they're probably thinking the same thing. Man, I must be crazy. What's going on with me? But no,
Yeah. No, it's real. I mean,
yeah,
it's real and believe me, because I was brought up Southern Baptist and I wasn't taught these things growing up. And I get so envious of people that I hear that grew up in that reality, that there are spirits and entities and you can communicate with them and all of that. And because I didn't learn about it until my late 30s, but I didn't even know what a psychic was until in my 30s, right?
yeah.
So,
I
oh
don't even
yeah,
know
I
when
mean,
yeah, I don't know when I even heard of psychic first time. It just seems like I just knew. It's like when I met my first psychic, which kind of got me on this journey, got me
mhm,
moving. I started looking back at all this other stuff that's happened to me. It's like, wow, wow, oh, wow. And
oh,
then just all of a sudden, I didn't, I didn't even know what it was, but I wanted to be a medium and a channeler.
nice.
I didn't even know what
Yeah,
it was. It's like, but that's where I'm heading.
yeah,
That's what I want to do. It's like, what is it?
yeah. And learning what that is. So
Yeah.
I learned from observing is just like, and I would be sitting there in these events and listening to this medium, and she did channel, so she was a channeler. And I was just like, well, one day I'm going to be doing that. And I'm just like, no. And then I would hear one day I'm going to be doing that. I'm like, no, but I'm doing it today. So
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
it is.
crazy.
It is. Yes. But it's
So,
so, I mean, it's so interesting. I think it all ties together because I'm very much interested in like the spirits that are still here, like the ones that are kind of just hanging out here that may disrupt things, right? That's going to move stuff in your house. They're going to slam cabinets. I mean, look, I've had cabinets slammed. I thought it was funny, actually. But that's me. Like, I get a joke. I love it because I get a joke out of it, right?
okay, good.
Um, because, yeah, I mean, I love the experience and I'm just so intrigued by that, right?
Yeah.
And just like, I would love to do that and actually be able to find a way to have an intelligent conversation with a spirit that's still on this realm.
Hmm.
And it's like why you chose to stay here in this realm, right? Or
Right.
is it that you don't know that you're here and there's other options for you to go to? Like I would love, like I wish I could have a intelligent conversation like I'm having with you, right?
Yeah, that's my goal too. I would love to be able to have those conversations like you, be able to ask those questions and um, get from the facts, get from the truth and not from human. If you know what I mean? Humans, I feel like it's too much ego opinion or something that I just don't completely feel like I can
Hmm.
resonate with too many of them. And so if I can find a spirit that I can speak with and talk to in a conversation, I feel like that would be much
Yeah,
better. Yeah.
that would be awesome, right?
Right. Right.
I feel that there's a way to do that. I feel that there's a way to do that.
I know we can.
Mm.
I know we can.
Yeah, we'll just have to figure that out. Yes, we can. Woo,
Find our
I
way.
can school it.
Yes, definitely.
Yes. I
Definitely.
think it's, yeah. I've seen like those where they do the radios, right? Or the static with the headphones.
Like a
Like can I mention TV shows?
sure.
So they did that on Kindred Spirit.
Interest spirit.
They did
Okay.
something very similar to that, especially in the last couple of episodes, it became more popular with them to do that. But I
So trying to
wonder,
get that radio transaction going on there.
hmm yeah, And so I'm wondering like how long it takes them. I'm sure it takes some time because like we see these shows that are an hour long, but they say they're there for weeks at a time,
Right.
wearing the same clothes every day. So it looks like it's one continuous thing that they're doing, right?
Right.
Um, Interesting.
Yeah.
I am so curious. Look, I'm like, it's got to be able to be done. Okay. We'll
We
have to
got
figure
this.
out
Meditations,
meditation.
meditations, and I'm just recently spoke with one of my guests, and she was going on with um like speaking with us, which is your soul
Hmm.
and your higher self and all of
Yes.
that is like
Yes.
within. So it's she calls it herself and us. So it's
Hmm.
we can do this together if we be ourselves. Just be, just be.
Be our higher selves. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you have to be our higher self. I point up because to me, it's the higher vibrational self than where we sit. It's where our soul's home is, I guess I should say, right? And so you have to get there, and have those conversations. You can have soul to soul conversations.
Right. Right. I have to.
You can have soul to soul conversations, right? So if you knew
Mm.
of a spirit that was hanging around, but I have a feeling it would be us having to get to their vibrational level, right? So
Along with
everything's
them coming
in
down.
yeah, because they're going to be at a lower vibrational level than probably like we are, right?
Hmm.
And so getting to a meditative state to where you can connect with that and then have those conversations. Oh, it's not a meditative. I don't want to say it's not kind of a meditative state, but you're moving yourself into a channeling state to where you can have those conversations. And so the conversation channeled would be them talking to you.
So it's a
So I can see it in my
channeling
head.
instead of,
I think so. Yes,
okay,
I think
okay.
so. And just getting there. I keep hearing it's fairly simple to do. You have to bring yourself to the level to be able to do it. And I feel that the level is lower, not like a dark, I don't want anybody to think like it's a darker energy or anything. It's just a lower vibrational level because they're still here. And even though we're still here, right? Let's say you and I, even though you and I are still here, we
Right.
work on a higher vibrational level because we're more connected with our higher soul and our higher selves and our spirit guides and so forth and so on, right? So it's having to come down to them. So like when we
For
work
the,
with our guides and our spirits, like they can come down a certain level, but we have to meet them,
right.
right? And we're intentionally having to meet with their vibrations. But I get a sense that people that are the souls that are still here, we have to go down and meet them at their vibration.
That makes sense. Ooh.
Yeah.
Big chills on
Yes.
that one.
Yes. That's a good thing, right?
Yes, it is. That it is. Well, then now we know
Yeah.
how to do that. So to bring yourself down in energy, I
Mhm.
know there's all these meditations and everything to raise your energy,
Yes.
but what would you do to bring your energy down to be able to speak with
So when I ground myself, and I gotta start here first. So when I ground myself, I envision the grounding going all the way, coming from above, all the way through, down to the middle of the earth, right?
them? Hmm.
And the vision that I'm getting is me grounding myself, but not going that far. So it's grounding myself from my heart center versus a higher self center. So grounding myself from the heart center because I see the light coming here because I ground with the light. I see it coming here. Once it hits the earth, it goes wide versus deeper down. It goes
Down.
wider down. It goes wider out,
So it stays on the surface instead of going down to the core.
going down into, yeah. That's what I'm seeing. I feel like my energy would feel more weighted at that point,
Hmm.
and I might, and yeah, that's,
Very interesting. I haven't heard of that idea of, staying on
me
top of
neither.
Earth. I
Yeah,
haven't thought of that, you know.
I haven't either.
Interesting.
I just feel like that's just the vision that I got when we were talking about it. Like that's how that would
Of
work,
course.
right? And I see it
Yeah.
more spread out. Yeah. So a
Yeah.
wider
Because when you're
versus
going down to
down
the
and
core, you're kind of going through a filtering system of cleaning and all because of all the rocks and everything. That's how I
mhm.
imagine it. It's like a filtering system going down. And then if you don't go down to that filtering system, then you're staying up with all of the top energy that hasn't been cleaned.
Yes,
Makes sense. Yeah.
it does. Oh, you wonderful. Look, you made perfect sense out of that. I'm so glad.
It's what we do.
How about that? Yes. That's yes. Okay, so now I want to try it, right? So yeah. All right, we'll definitely try that.
You're on it. You're on it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so have you had any more like messages with you being a medium? Is there any other wild messages that you've gotten that you were like, whoa, this is way off or something like that?
Um, it's really interesting. So, I yes, and I've had people come back and say to me, "You remember when you told me such and such?" And I'll be like, "No, when did I say that?" So, back in very recent, back in December, November, December,
Hmm.
I had a coworker. Um, well, I was her supervisor. I'll be it first. I was her supervisor, and we both worked for the government. And we're sitting there having lunch one day. I'm like, I feel like I need to tell you that you're not going to be here much longer. I was like, are you looking for another job? And she's like, no, I just got this one. I was like, well, I just have a feeling that I need to tell you you're not going to be here much longer. I was like, so maybe there's something you need to plan on.
Hmm.
And then of course, so then February comes along and, she was a term, so she was an employee that was on their probationary period and she was like, go Valentine's Day. And it's just like, I mean, none of us saw that coming. Like, literally, like, none of us saw that coming back in like November, December time frame, right? And she's like, you told me. She's like, you told me this was coming. I'm like, did I really? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've
And so
had
that was
things
one
like,
thing.
yeah, I've had things like that too. Like I'll be talking with a friend and I'll say something and we'll go, what did you say just a couple minutes ago? I don't know. What did I
Yeah,
say?
yeah, yeah. I have no
Yeah,
idea.
I get you.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, yeah, I've had people, I'm trying to like, gosh, trying to think of something that, um, it's hard to think of specifics because they happen, and I usually don't remember. And I just remember her telling me, "Don't you remember telling me that, she told me exactly?" And I was like, no,
Yeah.
I don't, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, it's very interesting,
Mm-hmm.
um, how that happens. And I don't know, like there's been a time, I mean, it's like I've gotten messages that I'm going to be moving soon. And I'm like, no, I'm not moving anywhere. And come to find out, I moved within a few months after that. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And a really good thing to do. If there's anybody who's experienced, personally, I think that everybody's gifted in one way or
Mm-hmm.
another. And then so like if you keep a journal, I used to keep a journal, especially when I was just starting out, right? And and learning what was my intuition versus me. And I used to keep a journal. And what I discovered is my thoughts would write one way, and then my intuition would write another way. And usually my intuition was slanted a little bit and it would write out. And then I got to the point to where I would just ask a question and I would just write whatever came to me. So I wouldn't
Yeah.
write my question down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I would keep this and about, I guess probably like several months later, let's say 3 or 4 months later, I would go through and I would keep a little hash mark of every time something was mentioned in there and it actually happened. Right. So if
That's
I
a good
wrote
point.
something that was going to happen, yeah, before it
Yeah.
actually happened, I would keep a hash mark to determine, and that one gives you validation for the information that's coming through and that it's accurate, right? Because I mean, like, if you're just trying to remember stuff, I mean, that's hard to do.
Mm,
Well,
right.
did I
Right.
know that beforehand, or did I know it afterhand, or did I
Right.
know it at all?
Right.
Yeah. So keeping
Yeah.
that journal really helps, and it helps validate yourself because when you're in this space and when you're receiving messages, it's hard to validate yourself, right? Because there's no physical, tangible
Mm-hmm.
proof of what's coming through until after something happens.
Yeah. And that recently happened with me about, I'll say about 4 weeks ago now. I was with my pendulum and I was asking some questions, and come to find out, it was saying that certain person was going to pass away within 2 weeks. I'm like, oh my, oh my. And
Mhm.
it was crazy. It was like those 2 weeks plus 1 or 2 days. I did have a family member that passed away. Not the one that I was talking about,
Right?
but yes, we did have
Someone
a
did
member
pass
pass.
away.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, oh, I can feel it right here.
Yeah.
I
You're
can
right.
feel it right here.
You're feeling it in your heart. And it was a heart attack
I
that
was
got
like, it
him.
feels tight, and yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like it's smothered almost, right?
You felt it. You felt it. That
Wow.
was it. That was it. So
Wow.
it was really kind of crazy because I'm like, oh, and after a couple days, I was like, oh, I had that, you
You
know,
knew that ahead of time.
that was tough.
Amazing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really crazy, but it wasn't the person I was talking to
And
my
sometimes it
pendulum about.
won't be, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes it won't be.
Right.
Um, they give us information that we need to know at the time. And it may not necessarily be information that we think we need at the time, right? So keeping that in mind is important. Being flexible when you get the information. So, and not so rigid and hard. So in other words, if you're asking about a certain individual, be open because even though it may not be that individual like you're experiencing, it's still something that you needed to know at the time and be prepared for. So even though it was unexpected for the individual that did go, kind of
Right.
feel it was very unexpected.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just got a heads up on it, huh?
Um, yeah, you just had a heads up on it. And it prepares you, and believe it or not, it doesn't make the passing any easier, but it kind of
Mhm.
helps prepare you emotionally for that, right? And so you can be there for others who may need that emotional support more than you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Wow.
Very cool.
That's love. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. Because I mean, when I'm looking back, it was like, so this person here was willing to come and speak to me about it even before they knew they were going to pass.
Yeah.
They were already coming to me, and wow,
Yeah.
it makes it
What
even
do
more
you know?
deeper.
It does,
More,
right? Like, I don't know,
yeah.
it's like I could go down a rabbit hole with this.
So many
You
rabbit
know,
holes.
I'm gonna tell you, so you know how like you get on the is it what is it? Pinterest and you click on one thing, then you go into another thing, and it's just like click, click, click. Like, yeah, I could easily do that in this world, right? With
Right,
it all.
right. Then you
Yeah.
forget your
So,
original thing that you were going for. I do that all the time. It's like,
right?
oh,
Yeah.
what was I after again?
Yeah, I call it forwarding.
We go spirit brain, so it's just taking us
Spirit
everywhere.
brain. I like that.
Got spirit brain.
Oh my
Don't
goodness.
mind me.
Spirit brain. Love it.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. Any other fun stories that you can share with us?
I got, um, I'll tell you one is it has to do with seeing an apparition.
Nice.
And didn't know it was an apparition at the time. So,
Okay.
me and my husband, we were touring the battleship, um, in one of the Carolinas, one near
Charleston?
Charleston, yeah. So the battleship in Charleston, we were touring the battleship, and so we had walked the whole thing, and we were coming down. We were in the one of the rooms where they show all their awards. So all the awards or recognitions that the battleship had received over its years. We were in there, and so we were walking around, and they were heading to go out, and we were headed to go out, and I saw someone on the other side of the door go from the left to the right. And my husband was about to walk into him, and I grabbed his arm, pulled him back. I was like, "You didn't even see the guy? You about walked right into him." He's like, "There's nobody there." And I was like, "Yes, there was." I was like, he had on um, his uniform, like a mechanic type uniform. It's all like gray colored or like a greenish gray color. And he had like a Holland top hat, like he was right there. You didn't see? No, there was nobody there. I'm like, I'm telling you, I saw them. Like we stood there for a couple of minutes just arguing about it. So I walked to the other side of the door and I looked to the right where I saw this person go. And only thing that was there was two portholes, one going up and one going down. And the thing is that the portholes were locked. So nobody went there. So clearly, like I had seen someone that had worked there at some point in time, right? And was walking down and went up or down one of those portholes. Yeah,
Doing
that was
this
like the
job.
coolest. Yeah,
Yeah.
even though I had to argue about it, that was one of the coolest things, right?
I think it's part of the journey, I think, at the beginning is arguing because it just seems very common to argue with spirit when you're first. I mean, even when you're after a while of being with it, I still hear people
Yeah,
that seem to,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I
whatever,
probably do.
or, you
Yeah,
know, more friendlier,
yeah,
but arguing.
yes. Oh, let me tell you. So I got a crazy experience. Crazy. I was at work and I was at work. This was years ago, like 2008, 2009, somewhere right there. This is when I was just coming into my gifts around that time, like acknowledging them, accepting them, and all that. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I would like to say no. But I was at work. We had a coffee room, and I was in the coffee room making little pamphlets for a meeting. And in the center of the floor was our trash cans for recycling. Okay, so there's two trash cans. They're sitting like this in the middle of the floor. I'm over at the counter doing my, organizing the paper, making staples, and these two, nobody else is in there. Nobody else is in there. These two trash cans start do 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 like bouncing. I was like, y'all gotta stop. Like that's all I said is y'all gotta stop. I grabbed my stuff and I went to my desk.
Something about workplaces. I've had apparitions I've seen at my workplace. Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, I was standing there and something made me look. I didn't get any real feel or anything, but I looked over at the end of my table there and I see this head poking over,
Oh my
head
gosh.
poking over around. And I talked to a coworker and I was like, did you feel anything? Because she knows I'm into this and all. So I go,
Mhm.
did you feel anything? She goes, yeah, I thought I felt a female presence. And I'm like, no, it was a male.
I was like, I think it was a guy. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was
how
a male.
funny.
And he poked around the corner like he was just
Checking to see what
I'm
you're doing. Are
here.
you
Yeah.
waking me?
He looked
You're
like he
not
had
sleeping on the job.
right, right. Yeah, it was so cute. He just had like this very very joyful feel with him. He just felt very
Nice.
happy and joyful, and he definitely
Nice.
put a smile on me.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty. Well, what else have you experienced? What? Let's hear some of your stories.
uh, oh boy, I've seen apparitions at work. We've had meetings outside, and I've seen some behind my supervisor during a meeting.
Oh.
They were back behind him, and one of
Oh.
them was playing peekaboo. So I'd see him like on the side, and then he kind of
Hmm.
pop up, and then he'd come back out, and you're like,
Oh, that's funny.
pop
He
out.
was a clouster. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like that was really fun. That was fun. Oh, let's see. Oh my goodness, I've got a bunch of them. Just what to
I'm sorry, I like threw you on
speak
the
of.
spot.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. I let's see. I see pictures in my mirrors, faces in my mirrors. I'm a very facial person. So I see, oh, you just got to feel. Speak to me.
I don't know if I could handle seeing a face in my mirror.
It
Like
was
I'm
it
fine, like hearing stuff and I
yeah.
don't know.
No, this was they're like faces in the mist, because the from the shower and all.
Oh, okay,
See,
yeah.
like just it's not like the a very strong, matured energy,
Hmm.
but just enough where you can really kind of put your finger on it and outline it. Some of it's been
Oh,
pretty
wow.
cute.
Okay.
Yeah, I've gotten all kinds of faces. ETs, I've gotten just regular human faces. I've gotten all kinds of faces. It's been,
Oh, that's so neat. I love
yeah.
that.
So I tried to get pictures
Yeah.
of them all. This
Oh,
one's cool. This
wow.
one's cool.
That is pretty cool. That is cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Okay, it's not as scary as it sounded.
Yeah. No, no, it's not, it hasn't been scary. I mean, it hasn't freaked me out
It
or anything.
hasn't.
Uh-uh.
That's just it. Like none of these are like really nothing to be like really scary, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I can see where people could let their imaginations get away with them
Mm-hmm.
because there's too many movies out there, right? That puts it in a scary content, I
Right.
should say. Yeah, but I don't think there's anything. I personally don't believe that there's anything that's spiritual or in this paranormal like arena that is gonna purposely do us harm. And that's just kind of like where I sit with it.
Right. I think there's some out there that might be like that, but I tend to kind of wonder if it's just what you're bringing in, if you
Maybe.
are allowing them to come in, or if you haven't protected yourself, or
Oh, well, yeah, I protect
something
myself
like
like
that.
sometimes too much, right? I went to,
Hey,
so yeah, the medium that told me about my own gifts, I was taking a class with her to be able to see auras. And before I got there, I had to pick up a friend that was riding with me at the MARTA station. And me not being very comfortable with MARTA stations and only had been a few years since my attack that I mentioned earlier, I was like doing a water fountain of white light around me the whole time I was at the MARTA station, right? And so then I get there and this, she's like, okay, go stand up against the wall and let's see if we can see your aura, Because the other people are going to try to read my aura. And she's like, you're solid white. She's like, that's not normal. Like, you're just solid white. You don't have any other colors. I was like, oh, I've been drowning myself in white light like a fountain for like
that's
30 minutes at the MARTA station.
what I see. I typically see like white around people. Is that not norm? Is that not,
Usually
what would that
their
be?
aura, so that may be like either the outer layer of their aura or the but usually when it's closer to the body, you're gonna see colors of like blue or red or orange or yellow, right? So I think it's just focusing your eyes a little bit more, maybe look farther out. That might help too, because a lot of people
Okay.
don't realize that they can control their energy. It's like I went to try to do something with my husband the other day, and I'm like, because I have my tuning forks, and I was playing with it around him, and I'm like, your energy is like way out here. I was like, you need to bring that crap in, man. That wasn't that nice. I was like, you got to bring it in and hold it a little bit closer, because some of it's just, I think it's just wild and just, out there. Um, and I have a wonderful thing in person, like, um, you can actually use your dowsing rods to teach people about their own energy because you can ask them to make bubbles of their energy and the rods will move in and out as they do that. It's
Oh,
very
really?
interesting.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
look, we're gonna have to meet in person one day and I'm just gonna
Yeah.
show you.
I'm up
I
for
got some
that.
Delta Fly miles. I can use them.
Good with all that. Anything I can learn that can help my skills out. I mean, I'm for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But I said maybe just look a little farther out. Like I usually
Okay.
try to look, like in this area here, like probably like a bubble, probably about like that far out. And see, that's usually where I first try to check is this area and then, outwards here. Um, yeah, that's usually the first place I check. And then go further up and around. Like I just find one little central area to focus on.
Okay.
But no, so maybe an all white's not normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I can.
I have a like one of our division leaders would walk into my door at work and man, I could see all of his colors and I started taking colored pencils to work. So when he left my desk, I could color it out because it was just driving me nuts to be hanging on to it.
Uh-huh.
Right. And so I would just draw him out on a piece of paper. So it would be, I mean, like, oh, okay. I had to get it out.
Right. And that has helped you, I'm sure, on how to work
Mhm.
with these people if they're in a rough mood or high mood or
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah. When you get tapped into your intuition when you're working with people, I mean, that's great because you can just ask, well, should I tell them this? And a lot of times it'll be like, no, let's approach it a different way. Right.
yeah.
And so I've definitely, yeah, it probably saved my tail. Probably saved me because I was in a leadership position, right? So you need to kind of be careful now to
Right,
stay
right. And
in that role. Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I was talking to one person and they were telling me a story about her and her husband were driving and they ended up having to stop pretty quickly because there's this man that was walking across the street and it was rainy and all. And she was just saying, it kind of looked like her dad and that had passed and this and that. And then she was talking about how the two of them looked through the to the passenger window. And when they did that,
Hmm.
she said she saw her dad's face in the window. And I
Wow.
instantly saw his face and it covered the whole window. And so I'm like
Wow.
describing what her dad looked like. I go, it's this and that and
Hmm.
blah, blah, blah. And I think it freaked her out, even though she was talking to me about her stories for the possible podcast.
Yeah, it
But
can.
it's still kind of freaked her out. She was just kind of like, okay, I gotta
Yeah.
go. And
It's too much for her. Yes.
yeah, so
Oh yeah, I
those
totally,
things are
yes.
fun.
Dates are fine. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. I've talked to somebody, I was like, I hear this woman and she's really kind of loud vocal. She's very vocal, loud, and she looks like this, like she's got big 80s hair. Usually like that was one of them. I was like, and I can hear her saying, you never listen to me. You never, and she's like, oh, I know exactly who that is.
okay, there we go. Now we're good.
Yeah, yeah, it's so interesting, right? It's like just
Yeah,
because somebody's like we're going down another rabbit hole. Just because somebody's no longer here doesn't mean that they can't communicate to us or show themselves or be there, right? I
right.
think they're here all. I mean, they could. I think they could be. A friend of mine passed away in 2019, and I will tell you, I had to get over my own grief before I could connect with her. I had to get past my grieving point before I could have that connection.
Yeah,
Um, but once I was able to, like I asked her, I was like, what's the first thing that you really realize, once you crossed over the other side? And it's just like she can be everywhere at once. There's no boundaries of where they can be. Like she can be everywhere at once. So if she wants to be here hanging out with me, talking to me, she can while she's watching her mom,
yeah,
or her niece, right? Or she can be, yeah, just like everywhere at once. There's no boundaries for them once they
right.
cross over.
Yeah.
And I think that's beautiful because, I mean, we can only be one place at one time, right? We
These
can,
are our bodies, our meat suits can
our
only be in
body
one place. Yeah.
in one place.
But
Yeah.
we can be in multiple places. We are in multiple places, just this human side of us is
Have
only in
you
one
ever
place.
had an experience? I had one the other day. Um, so that morning, I knew that, my daughter and her family were traveling. And so the day went on, and then probably around like 2, 3 o'clock, I talked to her. I'm like, so y'all got to where you're going? Okay. She's like, no, we got like 2 more hours. And I was like, okay. But when I talked to her that afternoon, I felt like I was a whole nother day away from it.
Oh, wow.
Like yeah, I felt like, I'm like, no, what? Like, I felt like I had to bring myself back down to earth. That makes no sense. But it was just really weird. It was just like, I felt like part of my day just kind of like disappeared. Like, well, what happened from this morning to now to where I was under the impression we were a whole day away from it?
That sounds like some sort of like a man, almost like a time travel type of thing, huh?
A timeline shift? Yeah.
Yeah, something. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It is interesting. I was like, okay,
Anybody out
all
there
right,
know? Do you have an idea
right.
what's going on? Put it in the comments below. We need help. Oh,
Absolutely. Like
oh,
a quantum shift, a quantum timeline shift or something. I don't know. It was crazy. Yeah, it was
yeah.
crazy because like mentally it didn't make any sense, right?
Yeah, because it's not quite
I
like
just had to
a
accept it.
missing time. It was almost like just a shift, like you're saying, kind of like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, that's pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah. It is pretty cool. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, we are past our time. I can't believe it. It's but
That was
I've had a
fun. That was fun.
great, great
I
time
have
with
too.
you. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and I'm so happy and glad that you came on the show
Thank
and
you.
to tell your experiences and talk about some of this stuff because it's so much fun. So much
It
fun.
is. It was a blast. Thank you so much. You're a wonderful hostess.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I hope everybody thinks that because I have so much fun listening to everybody. That's why I do it partially. I just have so much fun.
Yeah. Love it.
Ah,
Well, thank you. I did
of
too.
course. Of course. Thank you. If there's anybody else out there that would have your own personal paranormal or supernatural stories you would like to share, email me lighttalk423@gmail.com. And while you're at it, click on the like, share, and subscribe buttons down below. And don't forget to check into my website at www.lighttalkwithdana.com to see what is coming up with my events and how to get your own personal photo read or card read. So I will see you then. Till next time. Bye, everyone.